past the hour of 7 and you're just in time for yet again another interesting conversation still in regard to safe transportation, of course, for students as they go back to school today, the 10th of January 2022. And that is going to be our main conversation and our main emphasis this morning. Of course, joining me in studio, I'm not an expert when it comes to this, but joining me in studio to shed more light on what we're discussing today is none other than Nelson Sekandi, who is the General Manager, Namayiva Bus Terminal. Good morning, sir, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning, Shivan. Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's cut right to the chase. And the first question is, what is the latest development in regard to transportation sector and the meetings that you had in government to sort of cut down the fares?
First of all, I would like to thank CTV for always updating the public about the issues regarding, most especially, the transport industry. We understand the children are going back to school today, and we as people who are in the public transport sector, this is the time where we are supposed to put a lot of emphasis to make sure that the students are going back safely. Mainly our emphasis, we understand that when the President of the Republic of Uganda addressed the nation last time, the main emphasis was about most of the passengers supposed to be vaccinated and all that. So, like in the public transport, what we have tried to do, we have made sure that these children are going to be safe upon their return to school, and we have put a lot of measures around the bus terminals and within these buses. Most especially, we've been having issues with the fares. Majority are complaining about the fares, but we have done a lot. We have been having meetings with the Ministry of Transport and with the Minister himself, and there are things which we've put in place.
But now, in regard to the fact that you are finally allowed to carry full capacity, I mean, still people have been complaining, even as of today morning, people still complain that the prices are still quite high. And for many taxi operators and bus operators have come out to say, but it's in regard to the fact that the fuel prices are high and it's a triple effect. What's your say on that particular issue?
Well, on the issues of fares, I understand very well that apparently you're carrying 67 passengers, of which that's full capacity. But I want to inform the public about what's happening. Like the cost of fuel, by then a liter of fuel was something like 3,500 by then before COVID. When we went to the lockdown, and the president and the Minister of Health was like, we should be carrying half capacity because of the standard operating procedure in the buses. And also, we had to double the fares because a bus which was taking 67 passengers was taking only 39. So we had to double the fares to make sure that we cover up the costs, most especially the fuel and other expenses. The fuel apparently is something like 5,000 per liter. And by then, tires, you were buying a tire at 800,000, but a tire is right now 1.5 million. So you expect that if they have accepted us to carry the 67 passengers, there is no way you can go to the old price. You have to make sure that you add something small like 5,000 or 10,000 to make sure that you cover up the cost of fuel. Because right now the expenses are high. We used to have only 3 people on board on those buses you're seeing, but right now we're having 4 people.
So you have the conductor, then you have the person inspecting, I am told? Yeah,
and you're supposed to be with the driver, you're supposed to be the inspector, you're supposed to be the conductor, you're supposed to be the person who is checking people inside those buses. Apparently, we had security threats and we had to engage the bus operators to have meetings with them to make sure that people are safe in their buses. You saw what happened on the Swift Safari bus, yes, whereby one of the bus was attacked, and so that thing gave us more light, and we had to engage the police and other security personnel to make sure that people are traveling safe. So if people are complaining about the issue of we not reducing on the fares right now, it's a bit hard because the costs are high and the fuel is also high. So you expect that those fares will be reduced by something like only 10,000 or 15,000.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is there some kind of special arrangement when it comes for students that are going back to school, or even some that reported even yesterday?
Well, what we did, most especially for the students, the way we are charging students is not the way we are charging other passengers. Let me say, like, for instance, let me give you an example. If a student is going to Mbale, we're charging something like 45 for other passengers. But right now, the fares, we're charging between 20 to 25,000
For
students. Yes, apparently. That's what's happening. Those are the special arrangements which are having in the parks and with all other bus operators. In fact, we agreed on that, and we had a meeting yesterday, and that was discussed. So parents who are there, when you're taking like the students to school, make sure that you bring your students to the bus terminal, and make sure that you book your tickets inside the bus terminal. You know what causes this mostly, whereby
Yes.
parents say that the transport fare is high, is because that majority of the parents or the students, they are conned outside the park. But when you enter the park inside and you use these bus offices, there is no way you can say that the transport fare is high.
Now, let's take a look at something that the Minister of Works and Transport pointed out, and that is General Katumba Wamala. He did mention, of course, together with the Ministry of Health, they came up and said among the SOPs or among the requirements when it comes to public transport for both the driver, the conductor, and even the passengers is to have vaccination cards. How is this sort of initiative, or how is this going to actually affect the passengers and you people as well?
Well, it's a bit challenging on our side, on the issue regarding each passenger is supposed to be the vaccination card. But on our side, apparently, we used to do it, like there are buses which are crossing the border, let me say, those on which are going to Nairobi, Sudan, Tanzania. We're doing that, and each passenger was supposed to be having that vaccination card. But for these buses which are moving within, we've got a very big challenge. And truth be told, it's a bit challenging on us, and we're trying hard. So what we did is like bringing this vaccination center within the terminal. So what we are doing is to sensitize people to be vaccinated, and I want to assure you and the public that we've managed to vaccinate like 85% of the passengers and the drivers, let me say the conductors also. But with the issue of vaccination card, that one is a bit tricky. So when we sat in the meeting, and recently we had the Minister of Works and Transport was like, this thing is going to be a bit challenging on the transport sector, and they were like, it's only the drivers and the conductors. So of which it was a bit okay, because for the drivers we had to enforce that, and also the turnmans. But for the passengers, I think we need just to be doing more sensitization on them to be vaccinated.
But does it mean that if a student boarded a bus this morning and they're going to Mbale and they did not have a vaccination card, you would actually refuse them from boarding it?
No, that one is not happening. It's not
okay.
happening. Like we are accepting them to board, because there are some students who come when they are vaccinated only once, and they are not fully vaccinated. So there is no way like you can refuse them to board a bus when they are not fully vaccinated. What we are trying to do is like, someone comes with a card, he was vaccinated once or is not fully vaccinated. So the vaccination center, which is at the terminal, we're having a different vaccine. Let me say we're having Johnson & Johnson. And the first jab was vaccinated, let me say AstraZeneca. So there is no way you can mix up that. So what we just emphasize them, like, to make sure that they go and vaccinate themselves, or they should be fully vaccinated. So I'm also looking into, like, I wanted to put this into for government and the Ministry of Health. Let's start also using this media to inform the public or the students to go and vaccinate themselves, and they should also sensitize, making sure that they sensitize a lot.
Okay, so Nelson, help me understand, what kind of standard operating procedures have you put in place when it comes to public transportation?
Well, generally, I will look for. I will
Especially
look
for
into
the students.
for
in
the
this regard.
students. Well, now, like, let me give you example of Namaiba bus terminal.
Okay.
Each student who enters that park, apparently, we're giving you free mask. On top of that, we've set up. We're having a vaccination center. We have put. We're having, like, before you access the terminal, you have to make sure that you sanitize. Actually, we are even having some good hospitals who have tried to donate to us free sanitizers, which we are giving to the public. And apparently, we're having like 3 hospitals who are doing that within the terminal. So we make sure that each passenger is sanitized before he accesses the terminal. You make sure that before you access the bus, you have to be with your mask, all that, yeah.
Okay, now looking at the curfew on borders that is still being imposed on them, would you say that buses and taxis, or specifically you're here to speak for buses, are you ready to take up the full challenge even when borders are not able to operate past 7 p.m.?
Well, it's going to be also a very big challenge for the transport sector. But I understand with time they will appeal and request the government to at least remove the curfew on them, and they make sure that they ferry these passengers. It's going to be a bit challenging because if the students are back to school, how are they going to come out from schools? Most of these students are using borders. So same applies to the bus industry. Like passengers who are coming from upcountry, people are coming from other countries and they come to the terminal. You reach the terminal at something at around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. So it's going to be a bit challenging for them to move from the terminal and go to their final destination. So I think the government should check on that, and we see at least to extend for them the curfew, and they make it at around something like 9 p.m.
I like the fact that you mentioned or hinted on final destination, because many people have come out to actually say, and even while we're reading the Twitter jabs, people have come out to say that borders is the easiest and fastest means of transport, to the extent that they can actually take you right up to the gate, which is something that not very many buses can actually do. So in your own opinion, in your expert opinion, would you what is your take on this?
Well, true, border is the safest means of transport, like for majority of us. Now, let me say, like on the streets of Kampala right now, I moved from Entebbe to here to Ntinda. It took me almost 2 hours coming to this side. So if I'd used the border, it would have taken me like 40 minutes. So it's going to be so challenging, and borders are most of the means which people are using within the terminal and also other areas. So with the issue of borders, it's going to be a bit challenging on us. Yeah.
Finally, as we wrap up the conversation, Nelson, what are your last remarks, especially when it comes to the government fully reopening 2 weeks after children have gone back to school? Is there something that you would like to tell them?
Well, what I would like to tell, most especially the students and also other passengers who are using public means of transport, and also the drivers and the bus operators, like, let's make sure that we follow the SOPs. COVID-19 is still with us. Let's not relax on COVID-19. Let's follow the SOPs. Drivers, let's make sure that you drive slow. Let's make sure that students go back when they are safe, and also other passengers. Then this one also goes to the government. Let's not stop sensitizing people on the issue of COVID-19. Let's continue sensitizing the public. Let's use this media, let's use these TVs, let's use radios to emphasize on people to make sure that they go for vaccination. I know most of people are still scared. You're saying that the vaccination, people in Uganda, they have a lot of propaganda. So let's continue vaccinating ourselves. Let's go and vaccinate.
Thank you so much, Nelson, for giving us an insight to this particular conversation, and still for coming this morning.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much, CTV.
CTV.
And I urge the public to continue watching CTV because it's the right TV.
Well, that wraps up the conversation that we had for you this morning on the Twitter Jabs. I hope that you were able to pick a thing or two. But up next is something that you do not want to miss, because we are cooking in the kitchen. So stay tuned, because up next, juicy stuff is coming right after this. Good morning.